So the Caitlin Clark jersey retirement ceremony has created some of the funniest discourse I have ever seen. Honestly, it has created genuinely some of the funniest discourse on social media I've ever seen.
Last season, the WNBA faced significant criticism from fans who highlighted over 100 missed calls by referees. The concern isn't just the sheer volume of mistakes, but also the overall quality of officiating. For instance, Caitlin Clark was pushed without any penalty being assessed. In response, the league is addressing the problem by bringing in top-tier professionals, offering six-figure salaries to assess every officiating crew.
Every single one of us knows that is what's going to happen on the 2nd of February, is that Caitlin Clark fans are going to be celebrating Caitlin Clark. A'ja Wilson fans are going to be screaming, look at A'ja, look at A'ja, look.
We've all felt the frustration when a referee misses an obvious call, leaving us puzzled. Now, imagine that happening over and over, game after game. That was the reality for the WNBA last season, and it became a significant issue.
Yeah, when it comes to the popularity and the game, the popularity matches the game. She's by far ahead of everyone. Next up is what, Bronny James? In college basketball?
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you take her and Juju, Juju Watkins, the young lady at USC, those two got more.
Let's take a moment to talk about Caitlin Clark. She's quickly emerging as the new face of the WNBA, the player everyone's watching. But last season, she was pushed around on the court as if it was no big deal. I'm not exaggerating. There's actual footage of Clark being shoved to the ground, and the referees didn't even react. No whistle, no call, absolutely nothing.
Ticket sales went up, popularity went up.
She got Travis Scott in the game. Look at the guys she got coming to. Look at the people she has coming to during the hour.
No. Hey, listen. To be a college basketball fan this year, last year, has been amazing.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just Clark. Players across the league were taking hits without any penalties being called. We're talking about mind-blowing missed calls and inconsistent rulings that left both fans and players frustrated. And get this, some games were actually decided by these poor calls. Can you imagine working so hard all season, only to lose because a referee dropped the ball? The WNBA Finals? Let's just say it was a mess. The matchup between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty was a total disaster. Fans were outraged on social media, and honestly, they had every reason to be.
Caitlin Clark now has 3,528 points in her career. She has officially broken Kelsey Plum's record from 2007.
The frustration was clear, and players couldn't hold back anymore. They started speaking out, calling for change. Coaches were furious on the sidelines, and their anger carried into post-game interviews. The league's reputation was taking constant hits. Want to know how bad the missed calls on Caitlin Clark were last season? It wasn't just a few random occurrences. It was a recurring pattern. Game after game, Clark would drive to the basket, get knocked around, and nothing, no whistle, no penalty. Just watch this clip, and you'll understand exactly what I mean.
Hawkeye star Caitlin Clark, who's also the all-time points leader in Division I history, will have her number 22 jersey retired on February 2nd, 2025. That's when the Hawkeyes take on USC. The 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year adds this to her already incredibly long list.
By the end of the season, it was impossible not to wonder if the refs were even watching the same game. One thing became clear. Something had to change, and fast. The WNBA was in serious trouble. Fans were losing confidence, players were growing more frustrated, and the integrity of the game was at stake. If the referee issue wasn't addressed and fixed swiftly, the league was heading for major problems.
Obviously, they are going to retire number 22's jersey on 2.
So, the WNBA finally admitted they made a major mistake, but here's where it gets interesting. They're not just making minor tweaks, they're completely overhauling the system. We're talking about new roles, elevated titles, and a grading system that could decide a referee's future in the league. The real question is, will these changes be enough to stop stars like Caitlin Clark from getting knocked around on the court?
But I can tell you right now, if somebody wants these seats right here to see Caitlin Clark, they're going to have to pay $8,325.
Let's break it down. The WNBA isn't just bringing in new refs and calling it a day. No, they're establishing entirely new positions to oversee officiating. First up,
It showed you on StubHub, the cheapest seat is $522. The most expensive is $8,025. That's pretty unbelievable. Serious.
the WNBA is bringing in a referee performance and development advisor, and get this, they're not holding back on the salary. We're talking a solid $140,000 a year. That's some serious money, right?
Well deserved. Caitlin Clark really put Iowa on the map with a historic college.
Did you catch that? They're bringing in a referee operations analyst. Now, you might be wondering, what does that even mean? Essentially, this person will be a stats expert, analyzing every call and breaking down the data to make officiating more efficient and consistent. It's like having a play-by-play mastermind, but for the referees.
According to Sports Pro, Caitlin Clark is the 4th most marketable athlete in the world. Yeah, not just female athlete, not just in the United States, but in the entire.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The WNBA plans to grade every single ref after each game. Can you imagine the pressure? It's like being back in school, but instead of a math test, you're being evaluated on every whistle you blow or don't blow. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what happens if a ref keeps messing up? Well, that's where things get serious.
They saw the jersey up there. It was in there. It was like with the jerseys, just hadn't been taken down yet. So everyone knew, oh, it's this season, it's this season. So obviously it's going to be 2.2. Why wouldn't it be? Because, like, why would it not be 2.2? Because she wears number 22. But it just so happens that there is another number 20.
The worst performing refs could be sent to the development leagues, hurting both their pride and paycheck. But will these changes stop players from being mistreated on the court? The WNBA hopes the new roles and oversight will push refs to improve, but will it restore trust with fans and players? As for the missed calls and finals controversy, Game 1 set a bad tone. With the game on the line, a questionable foul call left everyone confused. Breanna Stewart missed the free throw, and it felt like the refs were trying to influence the outcome. Game 3 wasn't as bad, but a 50-50 call still stirred debate. The issues weren't fully resolved.
Is getting her jersey retired. Why were they retired? Because they both wore number 22. Sums up the fan base. Here's your, like, my favorite thing is where it's like, okay, other side of the country, 2 different arenas. Why would it make any difference? They both wore the number 22 and both were on like 2.2.
The Minnesota Lynx were on the brink of forcing overtime with a chance to win it all. Then, out of nowhere, the refs made a call so absurd it'll make your head spin. A simple box-out play was called a foul, and just like that, the Lynx's hopes were crushed. Can you believe it? A finals game potentially decided by a whistle that shouldn't have been blown. But hold on, there's more. Game 5 arrives, and you'd think the refs would be extra careful after all the drama. But nope, same issues. No improvement.
My favorite thing is where it's like, okay, other side of the country, 2 different arenas. Why would it make any difference? They both wore the number 22 and both were on like 2.2. It says, how can you expect them to wait till 2.22 to retire it? But you can't expect respect from college or W when it comes to respecting those who came before you. There is number 22, Christy Sides. I want her to shout out the real 22. It was not Aja Wilson. I get it, Stephanie Weiss there with 22, but it was not Aja Wilson. Christy Sides is the real number 20.